to be with you. It's my pleasure and a privilege to be with you again. This is the second of our two sessions on effective communication. Um, and uh, I thought what we do is I usually begin my session, especially if it's a follow-up session. I like to begin with a recap of what we've done earlier. So we'll do a quick recap of the first session, and then we'll move on with the agenda for today. So is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we will begin. You see my screen?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so effective communication, part 2. This is how the next 2 hours are going to go. Like I said, we'll do a quick recap of the first session that we had about a week ago, I think it was. So we'll do a quick recap, which will probably take 5 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. We'll then move on to exploratory calls with candidates. I'll talk a little bit about it, but primarily we'll focus on mock calls. So I would need a couple of volunteers, somebody who volunteers to be a recruiter and somebody who volunteers to be a candidate, and we can then have a conversation. Maybe we can do 2 such calls, time permitting. We'll see how it goes, how long the first one takes. I expect the call to be about 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. So if we restrict ourselves to about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe we can squeeze in 2 such calls. And then we'll discuss what went well and what could have gone better. We'll then move on to probing, how recruiters can extract maximum information from candidates. And then we'll talk about listening skills, active listening skills, and different types of listening skills. There are also passive listening skills, but we'll primarily focus on active listening skills. It is my endeavor to make our session interactive. So please do ask me anything that is not absolutely clear to you, and I'd be very happy to clarify. I will perhaps keep maybe 10 minutes somewhere in the middle, where we'll pause and you can ask me questions about what has happened till that point. And then towards the end of the session, we'll take another 10-15 minute final break where you can ask me questions, and we'll also have feedback. You can tell me how good or otherwise you found my sessions. So that's really how we're going to do this. So let's begin with a recap of just give me. So recap and key takeaways from session 1. We talked, if you'd remember, first about email communication, the idea is for you to write effective emails, which need to be short, they need to be to the point, and they need to be error-free. You need to let the subject line talk. It is absolutely of critical importance. So find a short 3 or 4 word subject line with every mail that you write. Always be courteous. And also recipients shouldn't have to scroll to read your mail, because mails are often consumed. They come consumed on different devices. So A lot of people would read their mails on their smartphones. Some people would see it on their laptop computers, and some others maybe on tablets. So you need to keep all that in mind, and just keep it short and pithy. Pitching job descriptions to candidates, you don't just forward the job description given to you by the client. You highlight 3 or 4 key responsibilities and then send it forward to a prospective candidate. Also, highlight nice to have skill sets like good writing ability or people skills. Um, and that helps the candidate, and it positions you as a professional recruiter. Also, give the candidate an idea about the team in the hiring company, in the company that is thinking of hiring you. Give the candidate an idea about the team, the organizational structure, and also the company's culture. Assessing the strengths and weaknesses of candidates. The idea, of course, for a recruiter is to separate wheat from the chaff. And the best way to do it is to create an assessment matrix and do a thorough analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of shortlisted candidates. Your job is to enable decision making and talent acquisition by the employer, and you know, the more professionally you handle um, the strengths and weaknesses of candidates and make recommendations, um, the the talent acquisition then becomes worthwhile. Be a smart recruiter. Do not see the relationship with candidates as merely transactional. Um, Build trust and get a relationship going with candidates, most candidates that you deal with. Promptness is absolutely critical. It's a period of great anxiety for candidates, and the more you are there for them when they want to reach out to you, the better it is. Communicate with candidates with feeling and with empathy. And it's nice to sort of bring in soft touches which show the candidate that he or she is valued. And I'd ended with 7 communication tips for smart recruiters. Use simple communication, stay clear of industry jargon, and set clear expectations. And don't make promises, especially promises that you cannot keep. So if you say, for instance, that you will call in a week's time or you'll call the next day, make sure you do that. That's how you build credibility. Take the communication schedule seriously. Um, and it's an extension of the same point, really. Find out what the ideal communication channels are for the candidate, whether it's email, whether it's messaging. Recognize the fact that the person that you're dealing with is probably in a job already and may not be comfortable talking to you during working hours, in which case you call either before work hours or after work hours, or perhaps during lunchtime and so on. And that's something which you should discuss with the candidate and figure it out. You should personalize messages to candidates, no templatized response. The more the candidate gets the feeling that you are attempting to build a personal relationship, the better it is for you and certainly for the candidate. Listen, and you can listen, like I said, if you are silent. Get the job seeker to tell their story. So draw them out and get them to tell you their story. In this whole process of the job seeker telling their story to you, you will discover plenty about the job seeker, and that then enables the client to make a decision. Develop a bank of FAQs. What are the kind of questions that candidates are likely to ask? Anticipate 30 to 40 such questions, maybe more, maybe a little less, but I think in that range, 30, 40, 45, 50 questions. Anticipate the kind of questions, and this can easily happen after you've dealt with 10 or 12 candidates. And you can take the help of more experienced people. You can take also the help of Google, and just anticipate the kind of questions that recruiters get from potential candidates, and develop answers to those questions. And finally, ask for feedback once the process is over, whether it's ended in the candidate getting the job or not getting the job. Um, Take feedback from the candidate, and then work on those feedback points. So this is what we talked about in the earlier session. These were the key takeaways, and I thought I'd put it all together for you. And should you be interested, I can sort of not print it out, but I can create a PDF document of key learnings from the previous session as well as today's session, and I'd be happy to share that with you. So let me stop my screen share for a little bit, and I'll talk directly to you, and then we'll go back to my slides. So let's begin today. Today, we're going to start by talking about exploratory calls with candidates. And the thing about exploratory calls is that they should feel relaxed. You shouldn't approach these calls, in a manner that it seems like you're investigating the candidate. Uh, so don't ask a series of short and sharp questions which feel like it's an inquisition. Um, Ask gentle questions and couch them in nice phrases, rather than say, what do you do, or what are you doing now? Say, tell me about your present assignment, for instance. Um, so indulge in pleasantries, ask a few soft questions that establish a connection between you and the candidate, and then proceed to more searching questions. Ask, how's your day going? Uh, Thank the candidate for taking time off to talk to you, or say something like, what are you busy with right now? I hope you're comfortable talking to me for a few minutes. Words of that nature, phrases of that nature will put um, the candidate at ease, and then you can move on. So let me now get back to my slides. Okay. So exploratory calls with candidates is what we're talking about. Um, I've put down these 5 key points to remember, and do pay close attention to what I'm going to say. I'm also going to show you a few key questions that can form a part of a exploratory call. And I particularly want you to, I mean, I generally want you to pay close attention to what I'm saying, but in particular, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm going to say, because we're going to do a couple of mock calls in the next maybe 5 minutes or so. So 5 key points to remember about exploratory calls to candidates. It is exploratory, no more, no less. Uh, it is it is a call where you're going to discover what your candidate is like, and you're trying to find out if the candidate fits the bill. So treat it as that, no more and no less. You're also trying to establish a correlation between the position that you're searching for as a recruiter and the candidate that you're speaking with. You're trying to see if there is a fit. So you know what the position requires, and now you're trying to relate that with the person you're speaking with. So the questions that you will ask in the exploratory call obviously have to answer to um, um, this sort of desire that you have in mind of establishing a correlation between the position and the candidate. You are also establishing a sense of the candidate's competency. So you're testing if the candidate has the attributes and has the knowledge that the position requires. Uh, so you will ask questions which give you a fair sense of the candidate's competency. Uh, Good recruiters also want a fairly early peek into behavioral traits. Any company which is hiring talent, they want the person to have certain behavioral traits which are positive. Should be team player, should be uh, fluent, should be open to feedback and criticism and so on. So you want an early peek into behavioral traits. Um, so for that reason, you should ask questions of the candidate which give you a sense of the person's um, character. I mean, not really character is a big word, but behavioral traits. I mean, the way I am. I mean, do I observe good manners? Uh, what's the tone in which the candidate speaks, the manner and the fluency, and you know, is it you can slip in a question where you give feedback maybe to the candidate and see how he or she reacts, which will give you a sense of whether the person's defensive or is reasonably open to um, feedback. So, so it seems like a lot, but good recruiters need to um, go beyond the obvious, and you need to scratch the surface and see what lies beneath. And finally, the final key point is situational awareness, by which what I'm saying is the exploratory call also tells you whether the candidate is equipped to deal with specific situations and scenarios. So there's nothing in particular that I'm mentioning here, but if like this example that I gave you, give some feedback to the candidate and just see how the person reacts to it. It just will give you a sense of the person's situational awareness. It's important not to do a very long exploratory call, because clearly at this stage you may be speaking to multiple candidates, many of them, and the candidate too may be speaking to more than one recruiter, maybe several recruiters. So you don't want to spend too much time. At this point, you are only trying to establish whether there's a fit between the position and the candidate. So keep that in mind and work on it accordingly. Um, in an exploratory call, I thought about what are the questions that you can ask, and I've come up with this list of 10. I'm not sure if you can fit all these questions into an exploratory call, but these are it's a very sort of loose guideline that I've come up with. These are the key questions. Can you tell me about yourself? What are your current responsibilities, assuming the person is working somewhere already? Um, what are your current responsibilities and what have you done so far professionally? So current responsibility as well as a job that you've held previously. Tell me about both of those, or all of those. What about your line of work excites you the most? Now, this is a good question to ask, because you will get a sense of whether the candidate has passion for what he or she is doing. It's a nice thing to ask. What would you say has been your biggest accomplishment? It may be a little bit too early to ask this question. So depending on how the conversation is going, and if your initial feel about the candidate is positive, maybe you can slip in this question, or maybe you can keep it for later. Could you briefly summarize where you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Now, again, I've put it here, but I think it's a question that you can, sorry, you can hold back for later. Of course, you need to know the person's current compensation. So do ask what is your current compensation and what are your expectations going forward. So for the position that you are discussing with the candidate, you need to give the client a sense of what the salary expectations are. So that's of course a must, and that comes towards the end of the exploratory call. And it could be the very first call, but you need a sense of what the compensation expectation is. Also, it's important to know whether the candidate has location-related constraints. So do ask, do you have locational constraints, or are you willing to move to Bangalore or to Bombay or Delhi or Chennai or whatever? So you need to armed with all that information. Also ask, what's your timeline for moving on? So what's your notice period? Uh, and it might give the candidate a sense of hope that he or she is getting the job, but it is one of those pieces of information that you need. So right up front in the very first call, perhaps you can ask. It's there is that danger of giving hope to the person, but it's inescapable. You need to know what the notice period is. And finally, are you actively working with any other recruiters on other opportunities? And once you have a sense of all of these things, you can say that you've done the exploratory call with the candidate. So really, that is what um, uh, you know an exploratory call is meant to do, and that is what now we are going to do a mock exploratory call. So now for this, I need volunteers. So how many of you are here? 35. So Avneet and a couple of other people from Herky and myself excluded, there's probably 30 people here. Um, uh, so I need volunteers. I need somebody to play the role of a recruiter and another person who's a candidate. And I'd like the two of you, two volunteers, to have a conversation. So conversation which is 3 to 4 minutes. I gave you a sense of the questions that you can ask, but ask questions gently and wait for the answers, and then move on to the next question. Uh, you can perhaps the call can last about the conversation can last about 3 to 4 minutes. Um, so volunteers.
Hey, hi Sanjeev. I can volunteer to be either.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Abhidha.
Abida. So you'd like to be the recruiter or the candidate?
Either.
Okay. Okay, so let's see who the second person is, and we'll give the option to that person then. Who else? Hello, please volunteer. It'll be fun. I mean, and you'd have learned a few things along the way.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm
Hi.
Kirtana.
What's your name?
Kirtana, sir. Kirtana.
Kirtana. Okay. Kirtana, you'd like to be the recruiter or the candidate?
Anything.
Anything. You can't be anything. You have to be only one of the two, either the recruiter or the candidate. So okay, let me decide then. So Kirtana looks more like a candidate, and so is that okay with you? Kirtana, you be the candidate,
Yeah, I'm good, sir.
and Abida
Okay.
can be the recruiter. So let's have a conversation. Abida, shoot.
Uh, Before that, I just want to clarify. So this exploratory calls that we do, this would be at what stage in the recruiting process? It is
This is the
like the
very
candidate has already applied, like I have seen the candidate's CV, and then
yes,
I'm giving a call to that person.
yes, yes.
Okay, got it.
So it's really step one.
Okay. Uh, Hi, Kirtana. Is it a
Hi,
good time to
Amita.
talk to you?
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. I am calling from XYZ recruiting agency, and uh, I would like to know a little more about you
Mm-hmm.
uh, because you've applied for the position of X. Uh,
Hmm.
Person in a company.
Okay.
So, do you have time? Can we discuss
Yes,
about that?
yes, yeah, I'm sure, ma'am. We can discuss about it. We can go on further.
Okay, thank you so much, Kirtana.
Thank
So, tell me about you. Tell me something about your experience, and
you. Yeah, I'm Kirtana. I'm basically from Coimbatore. I have like 2 years of experience in working in this blah 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 company. So I'm having a position of X. And right now I'm seeking for an opportunity to grow on further, and that's why I've applied for this job.
okay, thank you for that, Kirtana. That sounds really interesting. Uh, is there any specific what did you like about the company? Is there anything specific that you're looking for in this role?
Yeah, the company's vision and the mission is really like outstanding, something which makes the company stand out from the rest of the competitors. And the role is challenging from what have been doing in the current company. So I want to explore and grow alongside the company.
Thank you for that, Ketana. As you said that you're based out of Coimbatore, are you willing to relocate to any of the metro cities,
Um,
or would
uh,
you be constrained related to the locations?
so 1 minute. Can I give like any kind of answer to this?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, I'm willing to relocate to any of the metro cities.
Okay, thank you for that, Ketana.
I
Um,
do have a question on this. So, can I bring my family along? Will I be given some time to relocate, like a month's
uh,
of notice period or something like that?
So, Kirtana, our this particular role is currently based out of Hyderabad specifically, but there is an opportunity, there is a possibility of this role being on a remote location also. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know your bent on whether you'd be willing to relocate or not.
Mm-hmm.
Basis that once the further decision of the hiring
Yeah, I
members happens, we
Mm-hmm.
will be
Okay.
able to confirm on that. Okay.
Okay.
It could be a remote
Hmm.
opportunity as well for
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay. I get it.
Okay.
I'm very much
Okay.
interested.
So, as you are currently working, what is your, if you can tell me your current CTC and your expectations?
Um, what do I say? Um, Current CTC is XYZ per annum, and I wouldn't be expecting a tremendous hike, just a hike of 2% based on my based on my performance. We can decide on that later.
Okay, you should never say that. I'm so sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for this information, Kirina. I have gone through the details, and I guess thank you for your time. I will get the details related to you forwarded to our hiring team, and we'll let you know.
Okay,
So
looking
by early
forward.
next week, I'll let you know
Yeah,
what
okay.
is the further
I'm
process
looking
of this.
forward to stay in touch and stay connected. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Kirtana. Have a great day.
That
Yeah,
was
have a good day.
that was great, but Kirtana, don't have such uh, ultra modest expectations. 2% hike.
I don't know what to answer.
Be a little more ambitious, but excellent conversation. I really thought Abida was extremely courteous and sounded professional. Asked you all the right questions, and while both of you were getting stuck with this XYZ and um, and all that, since we hadn't come up with the name of a fictional company, so that was a bit of a it sort of limited the conversation a little bit, but otherwise I think it was just the right kind of an exploratory call. So thank you very much, Abida and Kirtana.
Thank you, sir.
That was terrific.
Thank you, Kirtana.
Thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am.
And
Thank
if we
you.
can have two more volunteers. The tone has been set by Abida and Kirtana.
Yes, sir.
Rekha?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Rekha.
Hello,
So
sir.
we have Rekha and we need one more person.
Sandeep sir, you can choose randomly anybody.
I can
You can
randomly.
call out, you can call out anybody's name.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Afternoon,
so
sir.
Ankita, you game, Ankita? Ankita or Shweta? No? Do say yes or no, or not interested, or
Yes, sir.
who's that?
Shweta.
Shweta.
Shweta? Okay. So Shweta, will you participate in this mock call with
Yes, sir.
yeah? Okay. So let's do that. So Rekha and Shweta.
Yes, sir. Who is the recruiter and who is the candidate?
You 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 want to sort of decide the role? I'm okay with that. Shweta, maybe you can be the recruiter and Rekha can be the candidate.
Okay, sir.
So since you didn't make the choice, I did.
Okay, fine. No issues.
Okay. Good. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Rekha.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you doing?
Yeah, ma'am. I'm good. How's your ma'am?
Fine. Okay, is this the correct time to speak with you?
Yes, ma'am. For sure.
Okay, fine. Actually, I'm calling from ABC recruiter firm, and I got your resume from Naukri.com. So I was, going through your profile. So please tell me about yourself in a brief way so that I can get more information about you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm an MBA HR pass out, and I have 5 years of experience in recruitment area. And I just want to know about your company more about in this area, in this field. That's why I just applied for the post of recruitment executive in your company. And I just want to explore myself in your company. I just want to know the future plans and everything about the company. Uh, I'm really happy that I get a call from your organization. So I'm just waiting for that as I applied for, I think, 8 or 10 days before. And, I'm just eager to know about this post. And,
Currently, you're working, right?
yeah, currently I'm working now.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and why do you think you need a shift from this job to another one?
Yeah. In the,
Yes, yes.
this current organization, I'm working as a recruitment executive, as I'm working on the junior level. This time assisting the hiring manager. So I just got the experience in this. But what I want to know, just I'm working, like I stays in Pune, and I just want to know about more like other cities also. So I just want to relocate myself for the future endeavors. And I just got to know that your organization having uh, need for the recruitment executive. So I just applied for this, and I want to like I'm happy to join the organization.
Okay, fine. And you don't have any issue if you are, if we say that can you relocate from your current uh, city to the other city?
Yeah, no, ma'am,
There will be
no
no issue,
issues.
right?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your current CTC?
My current CTC is it's near about 6 to 7 lakhs per annum. Yeah,
And
and
what are your expectations?
like it's again up to the organization's policies and the rules and regulations. What is the criteria they have set for this position for the recruitment area? But I just want to share my view on this, that I need it is 10 to 12% hike or increase in my current CPC. I'm just expecting that.
Okay. And what is your timeline for moving on?
Uh, uh, as per your organization, again, policy, ma'am, it is 1 month,
Okay.
1 month or 2 month uh, notice period.
And can you please tell me something about your weaknesses and the strengths?
Uh, as a recruiter, like I'm just working in this field, and most important and foremost thing is the best communication skills. That I'm just recruiting the candidates from each and every field for my organization. So my communication skills is communication skills plays the most important role in this area. And next is again the decision making is the more important. So I'm just working on that. And this is my
I
strength,
mean,
but
you have
again I have
leadership
to work in
qualities, right?
this. Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, okay, Rekha, it was nice talking to you, and I will get back to you soon. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
thank you for your time. Have a great
Thank
day. Bye.
you, ma'am. Same.
Great. Thank you, Rekha, and thank you, Shweta. Your name is Shweta?
Shweta Cole.
Okay, how do you pronounce your first name? Shweta.
Sir, actually, my name is Shweta, but that spell is Shivita.
Shweta. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you,
Thank you so
Rekha.
much, sir.
Thank you,
Um,
sir.
so can we as a group, if we can, we heard both of these calls. Any comments anyone has, which, what went well, what could have gone better? Anyone? Abnida, what you heard this call. What did you make of it? Abida?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
Yes. Go ahead.
Uh, okay. The call was fine. The call was good. Uh, a little bit on, I feel a little bit more of personalization, a little bit more from Shweta's side. Uh, another, so this is just observation here, but on an overall level, like even when I was having a conversation with uh, Kirtana at that time also, uh, having specifics like the kind of questions that I also asked, even Shweta also asked, related to strength or weakness, or when I asked, what is your future? Do you think that this is role that is going to satisfy you? I guess that could have been worded a little differently. That were a little off the conversation, because we are in the session. That is why that kind of language came out. But that does not, on the phone, if I listen to it, that would sound very odd and
Absolutely.
abrupt to the second person.
I agree completely.
Uh,
But yeah, anything else?
just one thing related to the salary part. Actually, that's just an observation, or I would say that my perspective. You should never put a number. You should always say that uh, I have a growth expectation according to the role that is being offered, and it is negotiable, that I would like to discuss. That is how you should leave it. We should never, well, not we, I mean to say, this giving a
Right.
percentage.
No, but I
Maybe it's
think
coming from a other side, actually,
normal
not
to
from the recruiter side, but from the candidate sides, I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I just put first line that as per the organization policy and like what they decide for that post.
No, that's perfectly fine, Rekha. That's not
Yeah.
wrong at all. Okay. So that was just my personal take on that. So that's not wrong for you to mention that it has to be like that. I was just mentioning like
Right.
what came to me, actually.
No, fair point.
Yeah.
And here's a chance, Rekha and Shweta, to get back at Abnida
Yeah.
and Kirtana.
Please.
So you want to rip apart their conversation?
Please.
Kidding. But do
No, feedback is always welcome.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go
Sir,
ahead.
before that, I just want to one question about this hike, about the hike. No, for different level, it is different. Like for executive level, assistant level, the candidate will not decide the percentage, right? Because they are following the junior level. But for the middle level management and top level management, they already mention while giving the interview, or they are already uh, tell on the call that I need, or my expectation is this person for this for the hike. It should be like this, or it is always we should like we should never decide the percentage for this for hike and for the growth, or it is again based on the experience.
You're asking me?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm not competent to really, answer that question because I'm not from this industry. Maybe Avneet or Tasmia from her key side, if there are people here, um, they'd be able to sort of guide you on this. But my expertise is more, how to communicate and how to communicate effectively. Um, that's my area of competence. But having appeared for countless interviews in my life, I'm now ancient. I've been around for 3 or 4 decades, and I've worked for I don't know what 8 or 9 companies, and 8 or 9 companies. I think I was just telling a friend of mine the other day that I think I've been interviewed by all of India's top companies. I mean, you name it, and I've been interviewed for a job at that company. So I think it's better to be absolutely upfront about your compensation expectation, and not be kind of wishy-washy. Maybe not at the exploratory call stage, not in the right in the beginning, but maybe a little further down the line if you're face to face with the HR manager, the client side. Maybe that's the stage that you should talk about it, but don't be shy of talking about your money expectations, because that's when there can be a mismatch between what you have in mind and what you get as an offer. So
So,
that's my sort of
so one
anecdotal view.
question.
Sorry. Yes.
So, what if somebody is on a career break? Like, I am on a career break right now.
Sure.
So earlier, I used to get 4 to 5 lakh per annum.
How long back was that?
6 years back.
6 years.
Okay. After that, due to my some personal reasons, I was not able to, join. So now if I applied for a job, if they will consider me as a fresher, or they will consider my that experience, past experience, and how to to be in talk with the CTC for that matter. Hope you
See,
understand.
look, yeah, absolutely. I've understood what you're saying, and again, my competence on in terms of being able to answer that question is severely limited. So maybe somebody from Herky, should be addressing that. But I certainly think, for personal reasons, you were away for 5 or 6 years, and certainly your experience should be counted. And I would automatically kind of make a correction for whatever the purchasing power parity was 6 years ago and today, and then arrive at a number. That's how I would do it. So from your point of view, I would say that it should be something which is worth your while, and yet you're resuming a career. So it should be not a huge expectation because you're getting back into it. So that's how I would see it. Was
I
I?
want to share my experience on this.
Yes, go ahead.
Uh, you're right, Shrita, because I just interviewed by the 3 to 4 companies, the last one, and they just said me that even I am having the 9 to 10 years gap, career gap for my, as I'm completed my MBA HR, even NCOM also. But what they said this is a long time span. Your it was there, no? So we will be considering you as a fresher only, like MBA pass out fresher only. So that's the
Applied for
response.
some, even I applied for some jobs, so they
Yeah,
said the same thing to me.
same. Yeah, even they said we are just giving the all the benefits and everything as we are giving to the fresher candidate in the organization. Same thing. I experienced. Same thing.
Okay. Any other observations on the two calls that we got? Anyone else wants to say something, or we'll move on? Okay, so I think we will move on. You have a last chance to say something, all the 34 participants. Otherwise, you have no option but to listen to me.
Mm.
Okay.
So there is a question in the chat box by Arpita.
Yes,
She's asking, what if the candidate is unavailable for the call? Should the recruiter get back to the candidate again later?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, it's a sensitive issue. It's a delicate issue. The person's working somewhere already, and you have to be sensitive to the fact that the time needs to be right for you to have this conversation. So you should completely be flexible about that as a recruiter and call whenever the person's most comfortable discussing all these things. And there shouldn't be any sense of restriction when you have the conversation. There should be an environment where you can have an open conversation. So most certainly you should defer the conversation to a time that suits the candidate. Yeah. So let's move on. Having talked about the exploratory call, let's turn our attention to a more detailed probing of the candidate, which typically appears at a slightly later stage. So we moving from the exploratory call stage to a slightly later stage where you want to probe and you want to come up with answers to more detailed questions. So this is something that happens when um, you know when you're trying to do almost like a fact-finding mission. You're on a fact-finding mission. The more you know about the candidate, the better informed decision you can enable your client to make. So you think, and you reach the stage where you think the candidate has the wherewithal required for the position, but you need to know much more to be absolutely certain about it. So how are you going to extract more information? And that's what we're going to talk about in this next segment. I'm just going to share my screen again with you. Okay, this is done. So probing to extract information from candidates. It needs good communication skills to draw out, to extract information from candidates and to understand them better. And this process of gathering information is what probing is. I don't know why this has happened. Just give me a minute. Anyway, let me move on. The purpose of probing is to fill out a sketch. You have a sort of a outline of the person in mind. You've talked to the person on the phone maybe once, maybe twice. So you now need to fill out a sketch of the person that's formed in your mind. So this is a sort of a visual representation of you filling out a sketch. So who's this person? Anyone who can tell me?
Steve Jobs.
Okay, that was easy. So Steve Jobs, indeed. The key to probing is to ask open-ended questions. Yeah, and here's what open-ended means. It's an adjective. This is the dictionary definition of open-ended. It's a hyphenated word. It's an adjective, and it means without definite limits as of duration or amount. So you can have an open-ended conversation. You can have an open-ended contract, and it denotes a question, especially one on a questionnaire, that cannot be answered with monosyllables like yes or no or don't know. So you ask a question which leaves the person you're asking the question from with with a situation where that question can only be answered at length. You cannot say yes or no. I have I've been a journalist a large part of my career, and as a journalist you meet people, you ask people questions, and it's one of the basic skills in interviewing people that you don't ask a question where the person can get away by saying yes or no. Now once I remember I'd interviewed an author of a book, and he was a very introverted person, and I would ask like a question which lasted about a minute and a half. So a 90-second question I would ask this person, and at the end of my question he would say, yes, you're right, and that's it, and would say nothing else. So I'm now looking for the next 90-second question. So I would ask the second question, and which would last another minute or so, and he would say, no, not really. And then I'm looking for a third question. Now, that's a silly conversation because you're not getting anything out of it. He's just agreeing with you or not agreeing with you. So you need to be able to ask questions which have to be answered at some length, some elaboration. What open-ended questions do is that they initiate a dialogue, and it doesn't feel like an inquisition. So the kind of interview that I just described, I'm asking questions, the person saying yes or no. So it seems like I'm an investigator and asking you questions, and the person's giving me yes or no answers. So initiate a dialogue, ask open-ended questions that give you insight into someone's personality and the way that person thinks. So the whole thought process. These questions also will tell you a lot about someone's communication skills. So ask questions and then listen for the answers. What are the communication skills that go into framing those answers? That will give you insights into the person's ability, the candidate's ability. Answers to these questions also ultimately lead to solid hiring decisions. Hence, asking the right question is really, to use a cliche, half the battle won. So come up with the right questions, and basis of the answers, an impression then forms in the recruiter's mind. This is the right person for the job, or this is not the right person for the job. So hence, the more open-ended and the right question you're asking, the better answers you're going to get for yourself and for your client. And finally, practice, practice, and practice. Just keep practicing. Interviewing is both an art as well as a science. So it is a science in the sense that you will ask a question and you'll get an answer. But it is an art in the sense that the more searching the questions you ask and the manner that you ask questions, you will get the answers that you're looking for. And to draw out people is quite a skill in itself. As a journalist, I've done countless interviews, and it was constantly, always, and for I don't know, a couple of decades at least, I met people and did interviews, and even till the very last interview that I'd have done, you were still uncertain about how it was going to go, because every person is different, every person is new, and you need to keep practicing the art of interviewing. Now, I've put together a few key questions for an open-ended probe. And these are all questions which are designed in a way that will get you elaborate answers. Have you ever disagreed with a colleague? And if so, how did you approach and resolve that conflict? So, you ask this question, the person will have to think about it. Will probably ask you for a little bit of time while he or she, mulls over it. And eventually, when they come back to you and they answer the question, it will be a scenario that they will talk about where a disagreement happened with a colleague or a set of colleagues, and how that conflict was resolved. And listening to the answer, you can form your opinion about the conflict resolution abilities of the candidate, and whether it can tell you so many things. It will also tell you if the person's a team player or is more introverted, or has leadership qualities. So many insights it gives you. There's more to all of us than meets the eye. So what can you tell me about yourself that's not on your resume? Ask this question. So not the exploratory call, a little deeper into the whole experience. If you were to ask your candidate, I've seen your resume many times over, I'm familiar with it, we've had conversations, but what can you tell me about yourself that is not on your resume? So give me one or two skills that you have which your resume does not talk about. So I once, to give you my own example, I'd gone for an interview with the CEO of a company. GSK was the company in Bombay, and the CEO of the company asked me precisely this: "What can you tell me about yourself, which you've not revealed to us so far? So tell me about your passions in life." And I talked about my passion for music, for classical music. All my waking hours, I listened to classical music. So I told him about classical music. And he said, "What kind of classical music?" And I said, "Western classical music." As it turned out, the CEO of the company was a passionate classical music enthusiast. So for, I think, the next 20 minutes, our interview went for a toss because he only discussed classical music with me. And it was a dream interview for me because I was just so comfortable talking about classical music rather than, job requirements at GlaxoSmithKline Beecham. So it was a wonderful sort of interview. So it can lead to these unexpected outcomes, but asking a question like, "What can you tell me about yourself?" that's not in your resume, uh, will give you terrific insights into the way the person thinks, what the candidate's passion or passions are. Tell me what you think about leadership. What are the key attributes that a good leader must possess? Again, it's a completely open-ended question. You are sorry. You're asking about the candidate's views on leadership. So you may be at an early stage in your career, not really in a leadership role yet, but at some time in the future, there will be a leadership role that you will get into. You're preparing for that. Just tell me, how do you view leadership, and what are the key attributes that a good leader must possess? And another example of an open-ended question: where do you see yourself, say, 5 or 10 years from now? Now, these are all questions that will draw out the candidate at length. Uh, you know, the candidate will have to speak for at least a couple of minutes, if not more. And all of this will help you form an impression about the candidate. So open-ended questions are more probing, and they result in deeper insights. Close-ended questions provide clarification, but the answers are terse, which is snappy, short, brief, terse, and they reveal no unexpected insights. So let me just ask you this. I see on your resume that you had to change your location twice. Did you find that stressful? This is the question. Is this an open-ended question, or is it close-ended?
Close-ended.
Close-ended? Who is that?
Shweta.
Shweta, why do you think it's close-ended? You're right, of course.
Usually,
close-ended.
recruiters ask this question at the end of the interview only, sir.
No, regardless of whether it's asked at the end or the beginning or the middle, this is the question. So is it open-ended or close-ended? The reason it's close-ended, as you said rightly, the reason is that my answer to this can be yes or no. It can be, right? You asked me, I see on your resume that you've had to change your location twice. Did you find that stressful? And I can say, no, not really. And that's it. I'm not particularly willing to go further with that. So it's a close-ended question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's another question. What would you describe as your principal strengths and also your weaknesses? And this in the mock conversation, this was in one of the conversations, this came up. So is this open-ended or is it close-ended?
Open-ended. Open-ended.
Open-ended.
Open-ended.
Yeah, this is as open-ended as it can possibly be, because yes, it doesn't lend itself to a yes or no answer. The person will have to talk about at least one or two strengths, and while all of us are reluctant to discuss our weaknesses, for you will be kind of constrained to at least come up with one weakness, and you'll have to talk about it. So it's a question that will draw the person out, and therefore it's a open-ended question. Describe to me the way you measure your professional success. Is it open-ended or close-ended?
Open-ended.
Open-ended.
Yeah.
Open.
Okay, so I think you've got a sense of open-ended and close-ended. Uh, in interacting with candidates, ask as many open-ended questions as you possibly can, and do not ask too many questions. Of course, there are certain kinds of questions where close-ended is the answer, but by and large, try and ask as many open-ended questions as you possibly can. So we'll talk about questions um, that lend themselves to. Okay, where am I? Questions that aid effective probing. A few more examples I thought I'd give you. Could you walk me through your career trajectory? Your first job, the other jobs you've held right up to this moment. So this is a question that can draw the person out. What part of your job do you find the most interesting as well as the most challenging? It's a variation of the earlier question that we talked about, strengths and weaknesses. Now you're saying which part of your job do you find the most interesting as well as the most challenging, and this will give you a fairly good idea about what truly excites the candidate. This is a lovely question. I've been in some interviews that I've appeared for in my career. I've been asked this: do you have a role model? And if you do have a role model, what makes him or her a role model for you? So, it could be a role model that you know personally, or it could be somebody that you've read a lot about. So it could be Steve Jobs, who created the greatest brand in the world. You could say that's my role model, and then come up with reasons why he's your role model. Or it could be a CEO that you worked with in a previous company, and you say that, in my case, I worked with a gentleman called Anurup Tony Singh, who is the CEO of Max New York Life. And all my subsequent roles in various companies, I told people that he's my role model because I was a journalist, and I, as a journalist, then moved to the corporate world as the head of corporate communications of Max New York Life insurance company. And I had no idea, how to operate in a corporate environment. And he taught me the basic skills of, so he would say to me that you write well, you communicate fine. I mean, everything's fine, but you're very abrupt in the way you operate. So you need to listen to people. You need to take views on board, and then do it your own way, but take people's views on board. Now, this was an extremely elementary sort of lesson that was taught to me in my very first corporate job, but it held me in good stead for the next, I don't know, 15 years. So do you have a role model, and what makes him or her a role model for you? And then say what makes you the right fit for this job. And hear what the candidate says. Again, it will give you a sense of the person's confidence, sense of confidence, and strengths. This is it's not if it's an extended conversation that you're having with a candidate, you are conducting this conversation deep into the whole experience. You can ask, how would your closest friends describe you? And just see what he says or she says. It gives you a sense of the self sort of worth of the candidate. How do I see myself? Because I'm essentially going to talk about how I want to be seen by my closest friends. Even though the question is, how do your closest friends describe you? How would your boss describe you? You can also tell me how you would like your boss to describe you. These are nice questions because they draw the person out. Describe to me the one accomplishment in your professional life that you are most proud of. It's a little similar to one or two things that we've talked about in the past, but good. What do you think of work-life balance? Now, this is again a somewhat contentious question, but it's nice to get the candidate's view on this. You know that recently N.R. Narayana Murthy, the Infosys founder, he talked about how young people in India should work 70 hours a week. And if young people work 70 hours a week, India would progress faster. And there was a lot of reaction to his comment. 70 hours a week basically means if it's a 5-day week, we're talking about 14 hours a week, a day. 14 hours into 5 days, that's 70. And he's talking about working 14 hours a day. I mean, that's absurd. I mean, if, I don't know. I mean, he's Narayana Murthy, so you want to kind of listen to him seriously. But who's going to work 14 hours a day? I mean, young people in at age 25 or 30, they want to have a prudent balance of work life and personal life, and 14 hours a day is not acceptable. I was reading the other day in an American magazine that America is trying to move towards a 4-day week. And they've been thinking about it for the last 2 years, and several companies have actually already moved to a 4-day week. And here in India, we're talking about 70 hours a week. I have worked overseas as well, and especially in the United States, I spent some time, and they are extremely particular about personal time and professional time. So you are expected in the office at 8 in the morning, and you are there till 4:30 in the evening in many companies, including the company that I spend time with, which is New York Life. And nobody will take your call after 4:30 in the evening. In India, of course, you can call middle of the night, and if I don't take the call, you will say, you didn't take my call, I called you at midnight. So what was the problem? So this work-life balance is a contentious issue. It's good to ask a question like that of the candidate. What do you think of work-life balance? And finally, what makes you the right fit for this job? All these questions, finally, I want to leave you with this thought. The more you probe, the more information you will have. And the more information you have about a candidate, the better your advice will be to your client. And ultimately, it will lead to the right hire, which really is the whole reason for the exercise for the last, 20-25 minutes that I've been belaboring the point about probing the right candidate. That's the whole thing. The more information you have, the better your hiring decision will be. Yeah. So that was about probing at, we are what, at 5:15 now. I do have one more chapter, which we'll shortly get to, which is about listening. But do ask me any questions so far based on based on the various things that we've talked about, if you have questions. Or if I've been absolutely crystal clear, then I'll move on. I'd like to think that I've been crystal clear, but I can think I'm on the moon, and I'm not.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
This is a general question. Recently, I got a call from a recruiter. She is not ready to share the company details as well as the location. she shared only few details, only tentative salary details, and when I need to come for the interview. That also in nearby coffee, she want to fix the interview.
No,
It's
you
not
need.
even recruiter's name also, sir. Is this, can I attend the interview or, sir?
See, I think it sounds suspect. I mean,
Yes, sir.
if you are not able to tell me which company I'm meeting you for, then, I mean, if you are meeting me because you represent Haldiram, I mean, it's not a reflection on Haldiram. There's nothing wrong with, um, being Haldiram company. Haldiram is a company in North India which makes savories, namkeens, and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I need to know that whether I'm going to be working for Haldiram or for, I don't know,
Yeah.
Hindustan Lever. So, unless I know that, what's the point? I mean, and I think you should ask the person, what is your reason for not revealing the name of the company? Because it's not as if you appear for the interview and there's anything to hide. I fail to see what could be the reason. So you should ask for the reason.
Yeah,
Well,
when I asked, she said it's a Dubai-based startup. Only that information she shared, sir.
okay, then Dubai-based startup. If the idea of working in Dubai appeals to you, then I think the preliminary meeting you can go for.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? Or shall we move on? I'm trying to keep a track of chat also. The last question was asked on chat, which I missed, which Avneet brought up. But there's nothing on chat and no one's asking, so we'll move on. Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's move on to listening. Now, I have a lot of things to say about listening, and the principal thing that I want to do and start with is to say that being heard is a fundamental human need. And data shows that people are happier and people are healthier when they feel that they've been understood, that they've been heard, and that they've been understood. And I believe just the fact that they're being heard is a feel-good factor for people. Which is why for us as recruiters, it is important to listen in a world that is full of talkers. We live in a world where people love the sound of their own voice. But it is important for even these people to recognize that not everybody may be in love with the sound of their voice. Or even if they do love the sound of your voice, it is only up to a point. You'll go up to a point and listen to what the person has to say, but then you want to be heard. So what everybody likes, without exception, what everybody likes is a good listener. And listening is the single most crucial skill because it makes you smarter, it increases your productivity, and it boosts your confidence. If you read the biographies of successful people, I have read many biographies and autobiographies in my life. And one common thread that you will find in many of these biographies and autobiographies is that these successful leaders and entrepreneurs have credited their success to what is described as active listening skills. So, I mean, I've read Steve Jobs' biography, and he talks about how when you spend the time and the effort to listen to another individual, there's so much to gain from it. So all successful people are mostly good listeners. There could be an odd person here or there who's who's impatient and not particularly good listener, but by and large, you will find that good listening skills are a prerequisite for success in the corporate world. Sorry, just give me a moment. So listening is about the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. You would know the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing refers to the sounds that we hear, but listening, it is infinitely more than just hearing. It requires focus. It means paying attention to the person that you're talking to. And you're paying attention not only to the story that is being told to you, but you also pay attention to the use of the language, the use of the voice by the person who's talking to you, how the person uses his or her body, the voice, all of that. And that entire process is listening. Hearing is just hearing something that is going on in the background. That's more the connotation of hearing. So we're going to talk about types of listening, and I'll share my screen with you and we'll proceed. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has occurred. This is an exact quote from the person, or one of those persons I consider one of the greatest writers of English language, George Bernard Shaw, Britisher and actually an Irishman, who's written great things. He wrote several plays and great essays. He wrote a play called Pygmalion, which was made into a film called My Fair Lady, which is one of the most successful films ever made. And Pygmalion is one of the greatest plays in English language. So George Bernard Shaw said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has occurred. So the point being, from what you have said to what the person you said it to has understood, there could be a complete divergence. I could, be thinking that I've said what I wanted to, but what you understood could be the exact opposite of what I meant. So communication can often be an illusion, which is why you need to be a good listener. So types of listening, we'll first talk about active listening. Active listening is about when someone listens actively, they're trying to see what's behind the words that are coming out of your mouth. So an example would be a student is listening to a teacher in the class and is obviously trying to understand what the teacher is trying to get at. That's active listening. Or you're watching a YouTube video, you want to learn the recipe for a dish. And the only way you can do that is not only are you watching this video, but you're also listening to what the chef or the cooking instructor is saying. So you need to listen carefully and attentively to be able to understand what is being said. That's active listening. And then there's passive listening. Passive listening is disinterested listening. Someone is talking without quite piquing your attention. So you fold your hands, you settle back into your armchair, and you wait for the speaker to stop talking. Now, an example of this would be, let's say, a bank executive who's your relationship manager. Your bank executive is telling you about this new product. You have absolutely zero interest in this product, but you don't want to be rude and say, can you please shut up? So you keep listening, and you want the person to finish quickly so that you can go on to whatever else it is that you're looking to do. Or another example could be that you have a very talkative house help who loves telling you gossipy stories from the neighborhood, and launches into one long story about your neighbor who's doing something scandalous. Now you could be interested in that, but more often than not, maybe you're not. But you don't particularly want him or her to stop talking, so you keep listening to without really listening, and you want the person to end or to stop talking before you move on to whatever else it is that you want to do. Then there is critical listening. And critical listening is like critical reading. And both critical listening and reading involve analyzing the information and often followed by decision making. So this kind of listening requires complete attention. So an example would be that you want to buy a house and meet your broker, so when you meet the broker, it gives you the pros and cons of the house that you're looking at. And you are completely all ears and you are listening to the person critically, because it is ultimately going to lead to a decision of whether you will buy this house or rent this house, as the case may be. Or another example is it's your first day at your son's play school, and the class teacher is telling you the do's and don'ts. Your son is certainly not listening at play school stage, so your son and your daughter is not listening, is not in a at an age where he or she can listen. So as the parent, you have to listen to the do's and don'ts, and you have to put those into effect. So you will have to listen. So this again is critical listening. Then there's appreciative listening. Appreciative listening is when you listen to something with admiration and appreciation. And you want to listen to that person for the way they speak. I don't know if you listen to audiobooks. If you don't, you should. Some of the best audiobooks are read by great actors. Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet is a British actor, and she's read most of the stories and novels by great writers, including Roald Dahl. And there's a book called Matilda, which Kate Winslet has read, and it's absolutely a joy to listen to her talk. So anything that Kate Winslet reads, I love listening to it. Or another example is if you watch the mega super hit films delivered by Amitabh Bachchan in the 1970s and 80s, it's quite a treat listening to Amitabh Bachchan deliver those dialogues, which in those days were mostly written by Salim Javed, and they were very, I mean, films like Diwar and Sholay and Zanjeer and so on. And you want to listen to, not only do you want to watch those films over and over again, do you want to listen to the dialogues, the way they're delivered by Amitabh Bachchan. So that's appreciative listening. You are listening to appreciate what it is that you are hearing. Then there is selective listening. Selective listening happens when you choose to listen to only something that's important for you and you ignore the rest. A typical example of this would be an argument with a colleague or a friend, where you only heard part of the statement made to you. You ignored the rest, but later on it may turn out that if you'd actually heard the whole thing, there would not have been so much confusion. And it's only because you indulged in selective listening that it's led to an issue. Sorry. Then let's talk about empathetic listening. It's when you listen to understand the feelings and emotions of the speaker. Empathy is a quality which most human beings should have. So when you listen to someone, putting yourself in that person's shoes, that's empathetic listening. An example of this would be that a close friend of yours is talking to you about a setback that he or she has suffered. You want to listen closely. You want to listen with empathy, because the friend is quite likely to not only want you to be sympathetic to what has happened, but also offer a suggestion, perhaps. So you need to listen with empathy and with attention. And of course, if we visit a therapist, you visit a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever, you want your therapist listening to you talk about an issue empathetically. You're experiencing an issue, and if you've chosen to visit a therapist, you want him or her to listen to you very closely and very empathetically. And then there's biased listening. Biased listening is when you listen to someone with a preconceived notion. And remember, biases can be both negative as well as positive. But this example that I've put here is a negative example. So let's say you've been told by your neighbor that the new tenant is terribly rude. You have not met the tenant or the new person. You've not met, but you've been told by somebody that he or she is terribly rude. And for that reason, you avoid contact with that person. So you've not had that contact, but you're going by hearsay. Someone else has told you that the person's rude, and you avoid contact for that reason. That is inherent bias in listening. So you're not even willing to listen to the person. And without listening, you've already formed an opinion. That's biased listening. And those were the types of listening that there are. And this is something that I talked about in the first session too. You know about anagrams. Anagrams are words and phrases that are formed using the same letters. So if you look at the letters, these are 6-letter words, both of them, listen and silent, and exactly the same letters, LISTEN, SILENT. So exactly the same letters, and just the formation of the letters is changed. And the point here is that you can only listen if you are silent. And that's about listening skills. I kept it short because I do want us to spend some time talking about the various things that we've talked about both in the first session as well as today, and I'd like to be able to answer those questions that you may have, and I'd like to spend about 5 minutes, 10 minutes hearing from you. Feedback on how these sessions went. So the improvement areas for all of us, as there are for me. So I'd like to know from you how these sessions went. Yeah. So questions first about what I've been jabbering on about today, and
Sir,
yes,
yeah.
state your name and then.
If in my interview, I want to describe proactiveness as my strength. How to describe that, sir? Please help me.
Say that again. Just repeat your question, please.
Proactiveness
Okay.
is my biggest strength. If I want to describe that in my interview, how to explain, sir, in few words or?
How to be proactive? You should talk about, you'll have to give a couple of instances. You'll have to come up with Situations where rather than wait for something to happen, you had a plan ready and you put it into action, and that shows proactiveness. So it's situation specific. You'll have to come up with one or two examples of that. So rather than just describe proactiveness in theory, that in theory I'm a very good proactive person, I think you'll have to provide at least a couple of examples. Does that help? I mean,
Thank
I stated the obvious, but
Yes.
does that help? Because
Yes.
just saying that I'm proactive doesn't work. You have to say, okay, so you're proactive. So give me an example. That's going to be the obvious question that the person you're talking to will ask. So come up with one or two instances from your professional life which show that you are proactive and that you're not reactive, that you think of what might happen and then you plan for it. Make
Okay, sir.
sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a hi Sanjeev sir. I have a question related to your types of listening actually. So related to types of listening, specifically, I was stuck with selective listening actually. So would selective listening be always negative, or it can also be uh, positive for that matter?
It's hard to imagine how it can be positive because what you're doing is you are willfully choosing to hear only part of what someone is saying to you. So I can't quite imagine it could be positive. It's usually, I think, negative because you've only chosen to hear what you wanted to hear and ignored the rest. Yeah. You think it can be positive?
Okay. Um, See, in certain scenarios, I'm not saying I don't have an example right now, but in certain corporate specific scenarios, you have to be selective listener.
No, I agree. You are sitting in a meeting which is endless, where the chief executive is going on and doesn't look like he or she is going to stop anytime soon. Then then you switch off at some point. Although you still do it at your own peril, because what if you are suddenly asked a question? Uh,
Oh,
so then how are you going to handle it? So I think it's more or
okay,
less.
I get that. I get that. Another part, like in is this so can we develop uh, the skill? Like listening would be a type of skill that we can develop. Say, if I want to be uh, more efficient active listener. Currently I'm not, so if I want to be, can I develop that skill? Is it is it that, or is it a person's characteristic or behavior that is like inbuilt in them?
No, 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 no. I don't think it's got anything to do with it being inbuilt. You may, you can be a natural introvert or extrovert, but those are things that are always things that you can work on. And for better listening skills, it's something everyone should have. And I think if you want to put that into effect, you can start today. And in most situations, just listen to what the person has to say. Very often what happens is that we are asked a question, or in any conversation with somebody, we listen with the intention of answering the person rather than understand fully what is being said to you. We are already thinking of what my comeback is going to be or what my answer is going to be, and that detracts from listening skills. So if you hear peacefully and patiently what the person has to say, I don't think there's ever um, a drawback. There's ever a problem with that. The more you do that, I think the more more engaged you seem in every way, and more you'll pick up. I mean, it's only from listening that you will actually become a better professional. It's a bit of a cliche what I'm saying, but I also think it's one of those cliches which is absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Got it.
Sir, what kind of listening skill recruiters must have?
You should be an extremely patient listener. The more you listen, the more you'll discover about the candidate, the strengths and weaknesses, the behavioral traits, the anecdotal. I mean, you ask a candidate to describe a few anecdotes to you. You will learn so much from those. So I think you need, if you are kind of short and snappy with a candidate, you're not doing the candidate, her or him, a favor, and you're not doing yourself a favor either, because the more you know about the person, the better the decision that you will make about the candidate, to the client, to the hiring company, the better that decision will be. So I think you need to be a good active listener more than anything else. Also an empathetic listener.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. More questions? No? So let me check chat.
Sir, how long would an exploratory call last for? Like a typical exploratory call?
Yeah. Exploratory call, assuming that it's it's almost the first contact that you're having with the candidate. I would say it should be about 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
Okay, sir.
You shouldn't want too much information at the exploratory stage, because the assumption is that you have the person's resume with you already, and on top of it, you're building a sort of a rough profile of the candidate. So I think 3 to 5 minutes is good.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Okay. So is that it? Thank you very much. But before we end, firstly, I want to say to you that I've greatly enjoyed the 2 hours that we spent together about a week ago, and these past 2 hours, they've been extremely nice for me. All women audience, and you've heard me patiently. You've been active listeners. And you've asked me a lot of questions, which I hope I've been able to answer. But I want to know from you before we end, what is it that went well, but more importantly, what could have gone better? Any feedback on the way I conducted these 2 sessions? I have my own style. All of us have our own style of speaking. So was I kind of very pushy, very or whatever? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do let me know any feedback that you have for me. And feedback is, like I said, receiving feedback is a skill that all of us must possess. There was a time in my life, maybe a couple of decades ago or 3 decades ago, when I was not a particularly particularly good at receiving feedback. I became extremely defensive, and I would say, no, I don't agree. It's not important whether you agree or not. It's feedback that you're getting. Listen to it. If there is something to work on, work on it. Otherwise, move on in life. But listen to everything that is said to you. So do do give me feedback.
I would give you a positive feedback. You've been very sweet and very soft. And thank you for the kind of experience you brought in the sessions. That was amazing because uh, learning from life lessons is something that resonates and that is there in your mind. That just does not go off. So that was the best part actually in your both the sessions. Thank you for that, Sanjay.
Thank you, Abida, but please go on. You can talk for the next 10 minutes. I'm listening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would give others a chance as well, and I really think that others would also feel the same.
Yeah, I'm reading on the chat. You can say all of this also. People are writing in chat, but which is nice. But any other comments, especially of the nature that Abida just.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yes.
Myself, Vidya.
Yes, Vidya.
Yeah, so it was a very informative session. I liked the two sessions very much because you are full of information. So whatever we ask, you have the correct answer, the exact answer you have. So we got the all information, whatever doubts all asked, you cleared all the doubts, everything. And while the class itself, we can know you are a person full of information. You can say in very good way. You are listening all the questions, all the queries, whatever it be, and you have that patience to handle the so many ladies also. So, so I think it was very helpful for us, all of us, like getting such. We are all on career break, so we are not little bit back to others. So we are getting a lot of information through all these trainings. But your training, I found it is very interesting and informative also. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. But you said I seem to have answers for everything. I don't have answers for everything. And I don't know of a single person in the world who's got answers to everything. But just just for Twitter, so
Like, sir, when compared to us, your knowledge is little bit high. So, like, we are
only a little bit.
feeling like
Okay.
we are getting all the answers.
No, I was trying to turn it into a bit of a joke, which is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
you're most welcome. Any more comments? No. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a kind of a distillation of the two sessions that we've had, um, key takeaways. I'll make a document, a PDF document, and I'll share it with you. I'll send it to Avneet and Tasmia, and they'll probably send it forward to you, or if I have your email IDs, I'll send it to you. I think it's much easier that I send it to Herky and they'll share it with you. So give me a couple of days to do this. But today is what? Tuesday. So towards the latter half of this week, you can expect this document, which has key takeaways, where we'll talk about listening skills and probing skills and email writing, templates, etc. So it'll be a 5-6 page document, which you can refer to should you feel the need at any point. Yeah. Okay. So is that it? We've come to the bitter end.
Sir.
Yes, Rekha.
Yes, sir. It was really a good sessions. All your sessions I attended, and it was really a knowledgeable and interactive for us. Like after this so many years break, I just refresh my mind with this all the illustrations, all the terms and examples in the recruitment. Like in a recruitment field, you just share everything about this, and each and everything I got to know about the like start to end, like email conversation and everything. Just I'm getting like really now. I got the confidence for this, that I got to know the everything about this, because I'm really worried before that. Even I don't think even I am like linked myself after this so many breaks with this knowledge part and this day-to-day updates in the market and corporate world. So it really a great help, sir, and really it was a good sessions. And the main thing is that you're getting all our questions and delivering the answers. Like it is a we are like satisfied with the answers. And I cleared all my questions and everything on the part you just discussed in each and every session, sir. Really, it was great. Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. And also let me say that should I be, should you think that I can help you with anything, my area of expertise, although it's not particularly humble to say you're an expert at anything, but I would say that the one area where I feel most confident is communication, both oral as well as written communication. And if there's anything that I can do to help you personally, I'd be most happy to do that. I primarily teach writing skills to corporate executives, and I love doing that. It's something which till about 7 or 8 years ago, I didn't know I could teach anybody anything, but I accidentally discovered that that I have this knack for communication skills, and I've now been doing it for about 8 years, 7 years. So if there's anything that I can help you with on the communication skills side, I'd be very happy to do that. My email I can share with you. I'd put it in my presentation as well. Please do write to me, and it's my work on communication skills is labor of love for me. So I'll be only too happy to help you with that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
this is
Sanjay.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for the wonderful insight today. They have learned a lot of inputs from you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
You can share with us the PDF and we'll forward it for the candidates.
By Friday,
Sure.
you'll.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure, Sanjay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Happy
you.
evening. Thank
Sanjay.
you. Okay, lady.
Insightful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.